In a faraway land surrounded by tall, whispering trees and golden rivers, there was a princess named Adaora. Her beauty was known across the villages, but it was her dancing that truly captured hearts. People would come from distant lands just to watch her graceful movements as if she were a spirit floating in the air. Adaora danced as though she could speak with the earth and skies, her bare feet tapping secrets into the ground, her arms waving stories to the wind. Even young princes from neighboring kingdoms traveled miles to see her, hoping to win her heart. But when she fell in love, it was not with a prince. It was with someone who no one expected, a humble hunter named Obina. This is the story of how a princess's love defied the expectations of an entire kingdom, and how she fought for a love that seemed impossible. The first time I saw Princess Adaora, I was hiding behind the thick bushes just outside the palace courtyard. I had sneaked there out of curiosity, drawn by the whispers of her legendary beauty and dance. Everyone in our village had heard tales of the princess who danced like a goddess. But what I saw that day was even more beautiful than any story. Adaora moved like water, her body swaying and bending with each beat of the drum. She wasn't just dancing, she was speaking with the spirits of the land, with the air, the trees, and the ancestors. Her hair was braided with beads that shimmered as she twirled, and her bright eyes sparkled with joy. Each step she took made me forget to breathe, made me forget where I was. And that was when she looked straight at me. Our eyes met, and for a heartbeat, everything else faded away. The palace walls, the music, even my own worries. She gave a small smile before looking away, but that smile stayed with me. It was as though she had placed a small piece of her spirit inside me, and no matter what I did, I couldn't shake it off. From that day, I found myself sneaking to watch her dance whenever I could. I knew it was foolish. I was only a hunter, a man from the forest, covered in dirt and leaves, with nothing but my bow and arrows. What did I have that could ever make a princess love me? But then, one night, everything changed. It was the night of the great festival, and people had gathered from every corner of the land. The air was filled with the scent of roasted yam and spices, and the drummers played faster than ever. But this time, as Princess Adaora danced, I noticed something strange. There was a sadness in her movements, a deep sorrow hidden behind her radiant smile. It was as if she was dancing to escape from something, or someone. And that's when I saw him, a prince from a neighboring kingdom. His name was Prince Emeka, a tall, proud man with golden beads in his hair and a sword that gleamed under the moonlight. He stood with his arms crossed, watching Adaora dance with an intense gaze. After the dance, Prince Emeka stepped forward and knelt before the king. "I wish to marry your daughter," he declared. His voice was loud and firm, filled with confidence. "I will bring wealth to this land, and together we shall be powerful." The crowd murmured with excitement. People loved the idea of a grand wedding, of two kingdoms united. But as I looked at Adaora, I saw her face fall just for a moment. Then she forced a smile, nodding politely, but her eyes searched the crowd, searching for me. My heart beat wildly. Could it be? Could she truly feel the same way? I knew what I had to do. That night, I waited until the festival was over and everyone had left. Quietly, I made my way to the palace gardens, where the scent of night flowers filled the air. I waited in the shadows until I saw her slip out of the palace, her bare feet gliding over the stone paths. "Adaora," I whispered. She turned, startled, but when she saw me, a soft smile spread across her face. "Obina," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I hoped you would come." We spoke in hushed tones, hidden beneath the broad leaves of the banana trees. I told her how much I admired her, how her dance had become the only thing I looked forward to. And she told me of her dreams to be free, to dance for herself, and not to be bound by the duties of a princess. "Then come with me," I blurted, my voice shaking. "Let's run away, Adaora. We can go deep into the forest where no one will find us. We can be free." She looked at me, her eyes wide with both fear and hope. But just as she opened her mouth to reply, we heard footsteps. Shadows loomed in the moonlight, palace guards. They had seen us. "Run, Obina," she cried, pushing me away. "Go!" I ran into the forest, my heart pounding, with the sounds of the guards' shouts fading behind me. I hid for days, uncertain if I would ever see her again. I heard the news from travelers passing through the village. Prince Emeka was furious, determined to find out who had dared to steal the princess's heart. He had even promised a reward for anyone who captured me. Then, one night, there was a soft knock at my door. When I opened it, there stood Adaora, her eyes shining with tears. She had escaped the palace, leaving everything behind. I could hardly believe it. This was real. She was choosing me, despite everything. But our joy was short-lived. As we prepared to leave, we heard the sound of horses, of men shouting. Prince Emeka had found us. I stepped forward, holding my bow. I was just a hunter, but I would protect Adaora with my life if I had to. "Leave us alone," I shouted, my voice echoing through the forest. But just as they charged, Adaora stepped in front of me, raising her arms. "Stop," she cried. And in that moment, she began to dance. Her movements were powerful, filled with a fierce grace that silenced the night. Even Prince Emeka couldn't look away as she danced. When she finished, she turned to him, her voice steady. "You cannot own me, Emeka. My heart belongs to Obinna. If you truly care for me, let me be free." There was a long silence. Prince Emeka's face softened, and with a slow nod, he turned his men away. "Very well, princess," he said quietly. "May you find happiness." And just like that, he was gone. As the moon rose high above, Adaora took my hand. Together we walked into the heart of the forest, where no one could find us. She was no longer a princess bound by rules. She was free to dance, to live, and to love. And I knew, as we disappeared into the night, that we had found something greater than any kingdom. Our own small world, where love was our only rule.